It's mission accomplished for Honor Flight CAK. What it is and where it's going to celebrate its moments and memories is next on NewsNite. Mission accomplished is the best way to describe Honor Flight CAK, which is the focus of our program this week. You know, Honor Flight is a nonprofit organization that was set up to honor veterans, particularly World War II veterans. Here in the Akron-Canton area, the Honor Flight program is drawing to a close. Its mission is accomplished. And tomorrow, on April 20th, they will celebrate a day of memories and moments and recognition for all of those responsible for the past 6 years of Honor Flight. That celebration will take place at the MAPS Air Museum. And a little later on in our program, we'll be joined by Kim Koveski, who is the executive director of MAPS. But right now, we're going to talk with Val Kinney. Val has been the heart and soul of the Honor Flight program at CAK. Val, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
And congratulations on a mission accomplished very well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tell us, please, tell our audience who might not be aware of it, what is Honor Flight?
Honor Flight's an organization that is a nonprofit that takes the World War II veterans to Washington, D.C. to see their memorial.
How did it come to be?
It's kind of interesting how that happened. There's a retired Air Force captain in Dayton, Ohio, named Earl Morse, and his real job, civilian job, is a physician's assistant. And as his patients would come in after the memorial was dedicated, he would talk with them. He's very personable, and ask them when are they going to go see the memorial. And most of them replied that they could not make it due to no family around, or physically they couldn't make it, or financially they couldn't. So with the spirit that he has, he got his Aero Club together, and they took about 4 or 5 Cessnas and a dozen World War II veterans to Washington, D.C., and at no cost to them, and the rest is history.
How did Honor Flight start at CAK?
Well, that was kind of interesting. My involvement with the vets over the past 20 years, I attended a Veterans Convention in Canton, Ohio in 2007. And I knew everybody at all the tables except the very last one, which was Honor Flight. So I approached them and talked to them about what their organization was about. And I kind of invited myself on a flight, was hoping they would take me because I didn't have a medical background. But they said sure, and I drove down to Dayton, Ohio, and took a flight out of there as a guardian, and I got hooked. And I came back. They said that there was somebody up here that wanted to start it, and I decided to volunteer.
Give us some of the numbers, if you would, please. Like, how many flights have there been out of Honor Flight CAK?
Out of Honor Flight CAK, we've taken 11 flights, and
you've been involved with 10 of those, correct?
I've been a director of 10. I've flown on all 11, and I've actually made 12 flights with my one out of Dayton.
How many veterans, World War II veterans, have you been able to take to Washington, D.C.?
From Akron-Canton, we've taken 1,100 veterans, and we've taken about 700 guardians.
Okay, because each flight includes guardians who, in fact, accompany each of the veterans?
Yes, about 1 guardian for 2 vets.
Okay. How many hours of planning goes into each of these flights?
Oh, I wish I could have. I wish I would have written this down and documented, but I would say easily over 3,000 hours of volunteer time. That's just not me. That's everybody involved.
And Honor Flight CAK includes not just Akron-Canton, but it's 20 counties. Did I get that right?
Yes.
20 counties in Northeast Ohio.
Yes.
And then some out of the Pittsburgh area, correct?
Yes.
Okay. What is the cost of each of those flights? And it's a totally free program for the veterans.
Yes.
Okay. What is the cost?
About each flight in the beginning was around $50,000, but as time went on, the prices increased, so it was up to about $60,000
per flight.
Per flight.
Where did your money come from?
That's kind of interesting. I always said, build it and they will come. Through a lot of private donations, we did start off with one of our board members gave a sizable donation, Harry Donovan, and our initial startup fee came from the Honor Flight Network. And because they kept trying to promote other honor flights starting, and Earl came up here and spoke with the airlines, and that's how we got started out of Akron-Canton Airport. And then we also had the Timken Foundation. They supplied one flight with paying for all the World War II veterans in their day, and then the J.M. Smucker Company sponsored our last 3 out of 4 flights.
Number of volunteers. Have you had a chance to tally up the number that went into this?
Well, from around here in the local area, I would say I've probably had 12 main volunteers, probably maybe a little bit more, and then on that day we pick up the Rolling Thunder, we pick up my neighborhood.
What is Rolling Thunder?
Rolling Thunder, the organization that really goes around and does all kinds of things for veterans. One of our bus captains is a member of Rolling Thunder, and they came and they helped with the wheelchairs every morning on the days of our flights, and they were always there to greet them when they came back, always. And plus a lot of community members and school children that wrote letters to the vets for our mail call. You start adding that up and you're getting into hundreds of people, plus the people from Akron-Canton Airport.
Because that's where you flew out of, obviously. What kind of organization goes into making these flights successful?
I would have to say a lot. A lot of crossing our T's and dotting our I's over and over and over again. My first flight, I actually made one mistake, and because of that, I put extra time into every one, and that was there were 2 men by the name of Harry Shaw, and we only booked one on our flight. We didn't realize there would be 2 people named Harry Shaw, and they didn't look at the address. And so we had 2 people show up at our flight, and I was a little panicky on who I was going to pull off the plane, and one of the vets didn't show up. So we ended up getting both Harry Shaws on, and after that I made sure I did a lot of organizing and double checking. And with this population, there's cancellations towards the end due to their health or whatever, so it's constant. It's just constant checking and communicating.
How did you find the vets?
We started off with a list of 200 when I took over, and after each flight we would get 100, 150, 200 more, and it was just constant. They were constantly coming in, and it's the vets talking to the vets is how the word got spread.
Okay, so take us through a flight, okay? What happens? The vets show up at the airport? Get on the plane?
At 6 o'clock in the morning, they would come to the airport. The guardians would already be there. The guardians have already been trained. They're already dressed. And everything is organized according to color. So we had a blue bus, a yellow bus, a white bus, and a red bus, and all their lanyards matched. On the back of their lanyards, they knew who their team was because it was already labeled with the guardian and 1 or 2 vets behind it. So they would come, and Akron-Canton Airport would give us our tickets ahead of time, so U.S. Air, and we distributed the tickets. So they would come to the registration tables, alphabetical order, give us their ID, and the kids would come in the morning and take them from the registration to where we had them placed in the airport lobby. And they would get to meet and greet their guardians. They would talk, carry on a conversation. They were just really excited to be there. And then after that, once they had their team, we would ask the guardians to go through the security exit, which became our security. The TSA approved us not to have to go through regular security after many years because it was difficult and it was becoming harder and harder with the vets. And so they would show them their ID. They would go back, sit back by the plane, and about 7 o'clock we would start boarding. They would get their food in a little bag. They were so excited. Everything was in a bag. And then on our way there, about 8 o'clock, I think 8 o'clock we would leave. We would not leave sooner than 8 o'clock because when we got to Reagan and Washington, we had a surprise waiting, and if we got there too early, we missed the surprise.
And the surprise was?
They had a cannon or an arch of water that would the plane would taxi underneath of in honor of the veterans. And they also had, the U.S. Air would have signs out on the tarmac. They would wave flags instead of batons, and they had welcome heroes. And so as they looked out the windows and saw the water as we were taxiing under, the feeling, it just started. The excitement began and the emotions would begin.
They would get off in Reagan, and there were crowds and bands and music and dancing?
Yes. They would get off at Reagan, and actually as they were getting right off the plane inside the jetway, there were active military members standing there ready to shake their hands, and they were from all branches of service. And the men were taken back because we didn't tell them anything. Mm-hmm. It was all a surprise. And then as they got out into the gate area, U.S. Air would call all the passengers from other planes to come over and greet the heroes from Akron-Canton Airport that were coming, and they provided them flags and balloons. And then the Washington, part of the Washington Symphony Orchestra was there, and they would be playing military music. So these men are walking out, they're shocked. Yeah. They're just really shocked, and you could just see in their faces. And any guardian that we took that was a veteran, mm-hmm. they too had that emotional, it was just very emotional for them both.
So they had a whole day in Washington, D.C. Mm-hmm. What was the response when these veterans saw, in fact, the World War II memorial?
I think at that point they were just excited. They were excited to be on the trip. They were, most of the men were and women were just thrilled to be there among their comrades. And as they sat down and they started reflecting the stars, all the stars there are the part that really got to them more emotionally, because they felt like they were not the heroes. Those were the heroes that didn't come back. Oh. And they remembered a lot, and they talked a lot, and they talked a lot more than what they would talk at home with their families. And a lot of this opened it up, so by the time they got home, they started sharing more with their families. But to be among their comrades, they all carried on and they told their stories, and some stories were funny, some were sad, some were emotional, some they forgot about, and it just helped them remember them.
How did their families react?
When we took family members as guardians, I remember one young lady, she sat there and bawled. Oh. She just cried. She says, "My dad never talked to me as much as he has today." And she felt bad for crying. I said, heck no. We had a lot of family members meet us there. They would drive up from Akron-Canton and meet them there with signs, waiting for them to get off the bus. Oh. They were thrilled. They were just thrilled.
What I want to do is we're going to be going to NewsNite.net because I want to talk to you about the thank you notes and about what this program has meant to you. So please join Val and me as we continue our discussion on NewsNite.net.
For more NewsNite content, including extended discussions, full interviews, and the chance to speak your mind about the issues, join us online at NewsNite.net.
Welcome back to our second segment of NewsNite. And I do want to urge all of you to go to the web, to newsnight.net, because some of the discussion there is so heartwarming, especially what Val had to say about Honor Flight. But right now on this section of our program, we want to welcome Kim Koveski, who is the Executive Director of the MAPS Air Museum. Kim, welcome.
Well, thank you for inviting me to come and talk today. I really appreciate it.
I'm very glad you're here. What I'd like you to do is tell us a little bit about what I think is one of the best kept secrets in Northeast Ohio, the MAPS Air Museum.
Well, MAPS has been in existence for 23 years. MAPS stands for Military Aviation Preservation Society. Mm-hmm. And our mission is to educate the public on the history of aviation and its impact on man.
Go ahead.
We have 527 memberships, which corresponds to about 750 people. One of the best things we talk about is how much volunteer hours we have. Last year we documented 47,618 volunteer hours.
47,000?
47,000. That's 23 equivalent people. And when you look at other organizations that are shrinking, we're growing by 5 to 6% every year.
How did the museum come into existence?
A couple guys got an airplane and they wanted to restore it. And
One airplane?
One airplane, 23 years ago, in the corner of a maintenance building at the Akron-Canton Airport. And the guys just kept working on it, and we lost that airplane. It's now in a museum in San Diego. But we got more airplanes and more airplanes. Right now we have 39 airplanes. The museum's made up of 3 different components. Mm-hmm. The airplanes, which we have 39 of them. We have displays. There's about 40 displays. And the best way to explain our gallery of heroes, where the displays are, is a guy came up to me about 4 months ago and he said, you need to understand something. This is what I do. This is the 167th Air Museum that I've been to. This is the finest room I've ever seen. And that includes Wright-Patterson. Wow. We've received an award from the Akron Beacon Journal as the best museum in northeastern Ohio. Mm-hmm. And that's the first 2 components. But the third component is the most impressive, which is our people. Our people are just fantastic. A lot of them are veterans, and it's really kind of funny because you really don't know who you're around, and I laugh a lot because you don't know who you're talking to. You might be talking to a World War II pilot. You might be talking to a Iraq veteran or a helicopter pilot from Vietnam, and it's just a fantastic place to be around.
Where do you get your planes?
A lot of people will call and say, "Hey Kim, you want an airplane?" or we'll put in a request to the Air Force, mm-hmm. and they're on loan to us as a museum, or the Navy. We have naval aircraft, we have Air Force, Marines, we have some National Guard helicopters, and we have to report every year on the status of those aircraft. We have 4 aircraft that are privately owned by people, and they're still flyable. And then we have aircraft that are owned by foundations that are on loan to us.
Now, some of the airplanes, because I've gone through the facility, some of those airplanes need a lot of work to come up to display standards, correct?
That's where it's a unique situation. A lot of guys are retired from Diebold's or Timkins or Goodyear Aerospace, and they have all this talent. And we let them use it 2 days a week. We don't want them there any longer than 2 days a week because we don't want to burn them out. Mm-hmm. But it's an opportunity for them to use all this knowledge and all this talent to come. And I mean, imagine, everybody turns into 12 years old when they walk through the hangar doors. So you get to work on airplanes. Mm-hmm. Even car guys have been working on cars for 40 years. They get excited about the opportunity to work on an airplane.
And anybody can come and walk through the museum, correct?
Yeah, that's how we make our funding. We have a price that we charge for admissions, and it's very reasonable. And we enjoy bus tours, church groups. We have a really great relationship with the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. We have campouts that we do for the Boy Scouts, and we teach the Aviation Merit Badge, so it's quite an experience.
Tell us a little bit more about your membership. I mean, what do you have to do to become a member of MAPS?
All you have to do is pay dues. You know, sign up and pay dues. And then we want to identify how you're going to help the organization meet our goals and our objectives and our mission statement, because we have a wonderful mission statement. I think that to be successful as an organization, you need an organization, a purpose, and a commitment. And I believe that we truly do have that, and our members know it.
There's a big educational component to what you do, so speak to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, what we wanted to do is we wanted to make sure there's a gap right now. There's so much emphasis on STEM that history is kind of falling by the wayside, and it's really easy to explain. When I was in high school, we did a year of U.S. history. Well, how much has happened since 1971? You know, and it's still a year, so everything's getting compressed. Well, what we're trying to do is focus on some of the critical things that happen in history, and 3 of them are Pearl Harbor and isolationism, Tuskegee Airmen, racism and segregation, and Rosie the Riveter. And a lot of people don't know that this particular area was so important to the war effort in World War II that we tried to identify that.
Tell us, if you would please, how MAPS is related to the Honor Flight program.
It's a natural fit. I mean, it's a natural fit because a lot of our guys are World War II veterans. A lot of our guys were guardians. To be involved in such a classy organization, it was done well. I mean, it was really done well. And we were all very, very impressed on the coordination and how it was thought out to the nth degree. And we all had a great time.
What have you heard from some of the members who maybe went on some of those flights as guardians? That
it was the best day they've ever had. And you know, these guys didn't talk a lot about World War II and what happened to them. They talk among themselves, and they'll open up at MAPS, but they won't talk in their families. And for them to be emotional like they were when they came home, it was pretty cool.
Well, Kim, thank you for your introduction and your explanation of MAPS and what it is. And like I said, it is the best kept secret in Northeast Ohio. I mean, it's like going to a miniature air and space museum. Yeah. It's absolutely fabulous. So what we're going to do is we're going to break at this point and urge our viewers to go to NewsNite.net.
On NewsNite.net, we cover a broader range of topics than we can on the air in 27 minutes. Join us online at NewsNite.net.
We are back for our final segment of this NewsNight program, and we have both Val Kinney, who is the director of Honor Flight CAK, and Kim Koveski, who is the executive director of the MAPS Air Museum. And tomorrow is a big day for you guys. It's the celebration at the museum with your Honor Flight. So one of the things that you said off camera that I really want you to come back to, if you don't mind, Val, is how did you know that Honor Flight CAK had completed its mission?
We have a database, as I said before, and our database started dwindling down little by little, and the applications were not coming in. And as we made calls on our last 2 flights, we realized that it was time. A lot of the vets were canceling, a lot of them couldn't make it, their health was deteriorating. So we decided as a board that we got all but about 12 vets off of our list, and we forwarded them to Cleveland, but that it was time. It was time for us to say, let's celebrate what we have accomplished.
Sure.
So.
And it was what, about 1,100 World War II vets that you got to Washington, D.C.? Now, even though Honor Flight CAK has finished its mission, there are still honor flights going on around the country, correct?
Oh, yes. There's over 109 hubs that are active in the Honor Flight system, and the Honor Flight network is actually out of Springfield, Ohio, but they're all across the country, and depending on their location, depends on the cost. So those in California have to spend 3 days. They incur a lot of different situations that we didn't have because their flight is a lot longer. They have overnighters. You have vets that are on oxygen, medicines. It's difficult.
Tomorrow is the big celebration.
Yes.
What you're gonna celebrate moments and memories and recognition. Why is it fitting that it happen at MAPS?
Well, as he said, it's a natural fit. Some of their members have gone on as guardian and veterans, and what better place to go than where all the military people are at? It's just, it's a great facility. It wouldn't have been anywhere else. It's just great.
What's planned for the day?
Well, in the morning, Kim's allowing everybody to have tours of the museum and the planes, and the Rolling Thunder are coming in to cook hot dogs and snacks and stuff. We also have a lady band coming in and singing World War II music, and Earl Morse will be there, the man who started this, and he'll talk to him a little bit. We're going to have a little flag-raising ceremony and kind of move them out so then we can prepare for our evening program.
And what's the evening program going to be like?
The evening program is going to be a dinner and dance. So we have the John Trapani Band coming in, and they're going to be playing World War II music for the vets. We're going to also recognize all those that have helped us throughout the whole time.
Kim, what do you have to do at the museum in order to accommodate this influx of vets?
Well, we had to move a lot of airplanes because we had them in the hangar for the winter. And the Marlboro Volunteers are going to bring over some equipment, which is World War II vintage equipment. So that'll be pretty cool to have that staged. And this will be, we think it'll be very, 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 very nice for the World War II vets. We're looking forward to it.
How bittersweet is this celebration for the two of you?
It is bittersweet. I have to look at it as we did get 1,100 veterans there. It's was difficult making phone calls knowing that we didn't get some of the people there that were on our list. So as Earl said, we have to look and celebrate those that we did. So it's tough. Yeah. It's tough. It's a great generation.
As we close out the program, I wondered if each of you would share a memory maybe with our viewers about what Honor Flight or the Maps Museum's relationship to Honor Flight, what it has meant to both of you. Kim, why don't you go ahead?
Well, if you look at our World War II vets, we're losing those guys at an astonishing rate. And it's going to be a very, very sad day when we lose some of our heroes, because these guys are heroes. I say yes, sir, no, sir to these guys. And I'm just amazed that the more stories that I hear, the more I get overwhelmed with how much these guys really mean to all of us. They were our guides.
Yeah. Val?
I think the quickest thing to say is we don't want them to be forgotten. And I think that's what our efforts have been for. We want them to know that we will always remember them for what they've done for us.
Well, thank you both. That's really heartwarming. Thank you. And thank you very much. Good luck in your celebration tomorrow, and thank you for what you've done.
Thanks.
And thank you for joining us on NewsNite.